I'm Mahmood.
Hi, Mahmood.
Right.
We're on. Welcome to Business Growth Club. It's fantastic to have you with us this evening. And we've got a really great show in store for you this evening because we're talking about whether or not you should sit back in times of uncertainty and challenge and see what happens, or whether you should be thinking about how you can move your business forward, even though those times are challenging. So we're going to have a great conversation tonight, aren't we, Mahmood?
We certainly are, and I think that's a great topic, Jo, because I think you've got a choice, haven't you? You either stand still and let the landscape and the world envelop you, or you grab it by the scruff and you go forward with it.
Yeah, and it's very timely as well, I think, with everything that we're experiencing right now. So we are over the moon that you are here with us this evening. If you're watching live, let us have your questions and we'll take all of the questions on and we'll answer them as we go. If you've got any comments or ideas, put those into the chat as well, and we'll make sure we go to those as we go through the show. And also, of course, if you're watching on replay, do hashtag replay, and we make sure that we go through all of your comments after the show. So we'll catch up with you when we see you. So it's a really interesting topic, isn't it? Stand back and wait and see, move forward in challenging times. What's your view on that, Mahmood?
I think you've got two choices, haven't you, Jo? If you're in a business, you've got responsibilities not only to yourself, you've got responsibilities to your team, your suppliers, those people you engage with. You've got customers who rely on you for helping them do what they do and solving their problems. So the choices for me is quite simple. Even though it's turbulent, even though it's very rocky, you as a business owner have got a responsibility and a duty to yourself to actually sort of to make sure that you confront with what's in front of you. I'm not saying it's easy, but you need to actually be proactive and actually take charge of the situation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we're going to share some tips with you this evening as well on the things to really think about as you're moving forward with everything that's going on, all the uncertainty, or whatever time, because the one thing is constant is that things are always changing. And we're going to hear from our really special guest, Sarah Price, a little bit later, who runs a community interest company. We'll hear more about that in a second, but Sarah has been progressing and moving forward with her business. So it's going to be amazing to talk to her about all of that. And I think when it comes to moving forward, there are some key things to think about, aren't there, Mahmood? What would you put top of the list?
Oh, good question, Jo. I would say for me, number one is always, whatever the situation is, cash. So making sure you've got sufficient reserves of cash, making sure you can manage the cash flow in the future to help you navigate whatever decision you come up with, whichever path you go. Absolutely, for me, is cash control, cash management is the thing that will help get you through.
Yeah, and what about investment? Because I think you're absolutely right, and sometimes we can sit on our cash, but we do need to invest in the right things, don't we, at the right time still?
Yeah, true. And when I talk about cash management, for me, believe it or not, the cash story isn't the first. It's a critical thing to get sorted out. But when you make that decision to invest and not be passive, those businesses that do invest, those businesses that do take that active role of saying, actually, I can't just sit still. I've got to invest in marketing, in IT, in investment opportunities and all the rest of it. You need cash to do that. So I think your mindset can't be blankered and you can't afford to be static. So yeah, invest and don't stay static.
Yeah, and I just hats off to you because you've been doing an amazing job from March onwards of keeping us all really closely informed and very quickly up to date on all the changes that there are out there for small businesses working through all of this, all the government support, all the changes to things like furlough and so on. So thank you for that. And I know you're still doing it, which is really brilliant, and it helps us all immensely because I think as well, it's hard to keep up with it. But it is about staying tuned in, isn't it, to what's going on, and also staying tuned into what customers' needs, because as things change, when it's challenging, our customers' needs change as well. And it's really important we change as businesses, don't you think, in terms of our value proposition?
For sure. And I think you raise a very good, that's very kind of you to say that, Jo, as well. But when we were talking about tonight's broadcast, one of the things that came out was about this idea of communication, and we're going to talk about that more later on. So for me, in terms of financial information, communicating that to your stakeholders, to your client base is important, but it's communication not just in what's going on outside, but it's a really important thing to have. So this isn't just a one element and everything becomes right. There's so many variables you've got to play with.
Yeah, and it's about mindset, isn't it? Because I've actually seen a lot of, I know you have too, because we've been working together hugely all the way through these recent months in the Business Growth Club and beyond. Quite a lot of people have lost some confidence with, their business has changed, what they were doing was working really well, and they've had to stop, take another look, and it has affected their own sort of, I guess, self-confidence as well as their confidence in business. So what do you think in terms of how to address that and get that confidence and that mindset back up again?
Well, there's a couple of things there, and I think it's perfectly natural. So in all of this, what I say and you say, nobody's saying, oh, it's easy, you just click your fingers and it happens. And it's very, very easy that one moment your business is going in a particular direction, up till about earlier this year, if you look at something like the arts sector, contributing quite a significant sum of money to the UK economy there, and then suddenly that period of growth, that period of prosperity goes, it can be very overwhelming, and it's very easy to actually get enveloped by that. And I think we talked about this before, about this idea of grief. In that early stage, you've got denial, you've got anger, all those things, and then you eventually come out of that cycle of grief. So for me, it's about having some confidence in yourself, and then obviously tips and techniques that one can do to actually bolster that. But that overwhelm, that rabbit in the headlights, unfortunately, is something that a business owner can't afford to have for too long. Have it by all means, and then you've just got to learn to get to grips. And I think, believe it or not, from some of the things we talked about last week in terms of planning your business, getting that ideas on paper, mapping out your numbers, mapping out your innovation, actually probably for me actually improves your well-being.
Yeah, it does. So actually addressing the things that we might be putting off or avoiding, confronting them, taking them on, can feel incredibly empowering and be good for us. I think as well, it's about sort of separating the personal elements from what's going on in the business and the world outside, and not sort of mixing the two up. What's going on in the world is what's going on in the world, and we need a clear head.
Absolutely.
To navigate through that, don't we? Yeah.
Well, that's a great way you put it there, Jo, because I think we've all had that in our own personal lives, haven't we? There's situations, conversations we might not feel comfortable about having, dialogues that we don't necessarily want to have. But actually, sometimes when we actually have them, it works out. It's quite cathartic, and it's not as bad as our mind builds it up to be.
Yeah, the anticipation is often worse than the doing, and that once we've made the decision and we're doing it, we're in forward momentum and we're feeling a lot better, which of course is another reason to keep moving the business forward, even when times are challenging. And I'm really pleased we've got Sarah with us this evening, because she's awesome and she has been doing all sorts of great stuff to move forward. So it's going to be great to bring her on. Yeah,
was a great guest there. She's very innovative. She's very inspirational. Probably not what you think of your conventional, somebody from a PE background as well. So that's probably myself from a flashback to school. But yeah, a great guest. She actually talks the talk and walks the walk. So I think we're going to hear some great things from her when she comes on.
Yeah, so that's going to be good. So it just really brings to life and shows that however challenging the situation, that we can absolutely navigate through it. And it's all about cash flow, as you say. It's all about investing and doing the right things, reading and what's going on for customers, supporting them, making sure we work closely with our teams, and taking a few calculated, affordable risks along the way. And I think the mentality and approach to risk is super important, isn't it? Because we've got to take some risk. We can't guarantee that everything we're going to do is going to work, especially when times are challenging. But it's important that we do, otherwise we just go backwards.
Yeah, correct. And I think let's not delude ourselves. There is no such thing as a risk-free life. So even if you thought you wanted to do something very safe, very stable and very static, that in itself has inherent risks in terms of, competitors, in terms of things changing. What you think is going to happen next week and next month is going to change. So for me, there is no such thing as zero risk. Even if you just stay at home hiding under the duvet, that in itself carries a massive amount of risk. Well, Jo, I don't know if from all the companies and businesses that you work with, when you do your innovation, do you find that within this, that there are even businesses within the same sector that are actually doing well So it's not just university, that it's a bleak winter for everybody.
Yeah, I think it's the companies that do well are the ones that look for opportunity in unexpected places, but also move quickly. I've seen a number of businesses see opportunity, but they've deliberated for far too long. You've got to be quite quick off the mark sometimes. You know, it's no good starting to manufacture, you know, maybe a certain type of face mask or plastic shield once everybody, you know, once everything's done and everybody else is out there and it's commoditized. It's sort of really quite good to get there early and generate some good market share and get some traction in there before everybody else. I don't know if they're good examples or not, but it sort of illustrates the principle really. And I think it's about being positive. It's about recognizing that things have changed and being able to say, okay, this is how it was and this is how it is now, and how, you know, I need to plan for the future, and actually mentally moving yourself along. It's that self-coaching, that resilience, that mindset that will take you forward. They're the ones that are doing well. You know, they're still out there talking about the products and services, doing it in the right way, but they might have adapted what they're doing en route as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, if you pick up the idea about marketing, and we talked about investing earlier on, it's a well-known fact that those companies, even when times look very challenging, that carry on investing in innovation, carry on investing in marketing, carry on investing in their team. You know, as long as they can manage that cash flow correctly, actually the ones who prosper, you know, when things do become a bit calmer there as well.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. And I think it comes down to focus. So it's not just generically marketing. It's not just generically doing stuff and being busy. It's about having a really tight focus on who you're aiming to reach, what you're doing in your business and how you're going to get there, and making sure that the investment is directed so that you'll get that return and you can move the needle in your business to make a difference going forward.
Yeah, that's great. I think you're quite right in terms of it's not just throwing money at any situation, it's actually being selective, it's understanding what's going on in your business. I think one of the phrases that we like using is this idea of agility and being agile and lean here, and that ability to adapt to move, you know, it's an important thing to build into your business.
I think also the ability to go back to what Aristotle and others, and Elon Musk actually call first principles.
Okay.
Is actually being able to step back and think independently, to look at all the noise and see all the stuff and read all the, you know, taking all the data and assimilate that in quite a creative way, and be able to imagine how things might be different from how they are at the moment or how they've been. And I think that's sometimes where we can get a bit stuck, is that we want things to continue and be the same, and we can't really imagine a world where things might be super different and where we would fit into that world. We might be able to imagine the world, but how we fit in is a different thing. So that real good skill of stepping back, thinking about things, you know, in the round, and imagining how we're going to work through that is quite a key skill. I think for businesses, and the ones that can do that, the business owners that can do that, the ones that can see a path through challenge, and they're the ones that step up to the plate and take it forward. So don't be restricted by how things are today or how they were yesterday.
It makes me think very much of Dad's Army, that old wonderful phrase in Dad's Army. Was it Pike? Oh no, it's I can't remember who it was. Don't panic, Mr. Mannering, don't panic. Yeah. Even though it's cliched and it sounds easy to do, not panicking when there's a crisis and having that clarity of thought, stepping away from the immediate hurly-burly and actually having that calmness that comes to it, you know, can do a really great deal. So perhaps it should be a compulsory training video that everyone watches a series of Dad's Army. Yeah,
could be. I think John Cleese has probably done some good ones on all that sort of stuff. Yeah, really,
which is a market opportunity for everybody out there.
Yeah. So I think that's a really good point. Time to bring in Sarah. Should we see?
I think we should do. Let's see if she's free from the green room. She's busy munching on her M&Ms. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really proud and pleased to introduce Sarah Price, innovative, very inspiring and very likeable director, founder of Go Well CIC. So, by the power of magic, let's bring on Sarah. Bring her in. Sarah,
hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you for sparing the time to come and speak to us tonight, Sarah. So it would seem perfectly natural. Just do you want to tell our listeners, just give us a little bit of background about yourself?
So I'm the manager of Go Well, and we're a community interest company. We aim to inspire and build healthy, active futures, and we use the power of PE, sport, and physical activity to help improve overall wellness. Quite a lot in the physical and mental health area as well, mainly working within education. My background personally would be quite traditional through education, further education, university, and then straight into this sector. Working within schools for partnerships, so I've always worked in this sector in sport because I'm very passionate about it. It's brought a lot to my life, and I'd like to pass that on to other people as well.
Yeah, that enthusiasm and passion for what you do is really infectious, and you do it with massive integrity. You're incredibly inspirational. I think we met, didn't we, the three of us, just before lockdown. Around lockdown, you sort of. Yeah. And you came and joined the Business Growth Club, and I think it's brilliant. And I know, Mahmood, you feel the same, how you've actually steered your community interest company through some very challenging times. So talk to us about that. Talk to us about how you moved forward in challenge.
So I would say it was quite similar to what you've just mentioned there about taking a zoom out and trying to take in all the data and everything that's going on and working out our path through and working out how I can best empower my team through the process as humans, really, because it was a really difficult time. It still is, to be honest. It still is a difficult time for everyone. So we're a people-centered organisation, and our values run right the way through everything that we do. So the first time when lockdown hit, it was a massive impact on our business for schools to close. They were our customers, and they would argue that they didn't close. Schools stayed open the whole time. So just make sure that I say that. But we couldn't get in, so our client base was closed down. So we had to really innovate and think about how we could deliver our services differently, but also how could I maintain the well-being of my team in a very difficult time when people were working from home and had families to think about, and it was a scary time for everyone. So it was a humans first approach, put people first, get them secure and psychologically safe, and then we'll build from there as a business.
And from what I know about you, Sarah, was that a culture that was already within your organisation, that ability to have that communication, that open dialogue? And
yeah, it was. Yeah, so when I took over as sole sort of manager, probably about 2014, 2015, it was building a culture was really important to me, and a people first culture. So our company values are big E's, big ideas, big heart, and that runs right the way through everything that we do. So in terms of COVID and that sort of pandemic and the panic within that, it was big E's of listening to people, but big heart around putting people first.
Yeah, what brilliant values they are, aren't they? I mean, they're really memorable and really creative. And how do you actually create a human first enterprise? How do you do that? What's the magic sauce or the secret to success?
It's a good question. I guess it's always putting the question first around how you can help people. And if that's your first question, how can I help people? Then you're going to put people first. So within the first stages of lockdown, it was how can I help the people that I work with, but also how can I help my customers as people as well? Like, what situation are they in? How can I put myself in their shoes? How can I find out how they're feeling, what their problems and difficulties are, and how can we help? So I think, yeah, if you ask yourself, how can I help a lot, then you'll start to get a people-centered organisation.
Yeah.
And so you've got that customer-focused internal and external thing, and you've presumably got we were saying earlier on, the communication channels open as well.
Yeah, so within lockdown, everything changed for everyone. So we went to virtual meetings like what everybody else did. And it was really important at that time. So we met weekly, which was more often than normal. So we communicated more as a team, got together more as a team. But the first part of that meeting was just open forum where anybody could ask me or Sarah, who's my assistant manager as well, any questions that they want. And we would be as transparent as we could be, whether that be about numbers or what we think is going to happen in the future or how the company's looking financially, things like that. We would just be completely honest with where things were.
And how did you actually work through the numbers and the financials and manage all of that? Because I know you've got targets around how, as a community interest company, you've got targets around how many people you want to reach. So tell us about that, and also tell us about how you put that together financially and make everything come together.
So I was in the I Hate Numbers club that Mahmood talks about, and I've converted to the I might like numbers a little bit club. Through COVID, I think numbers and getting really detailed with the finances would be always something that I would shirk a little bit, and COVID was a bit of an eye-opener around that, because we had targets throughout last academic year of what income we needed to make throughout the year, and as soon as lockdown hit, that was game over really for sales with the situation that schools are in. So we really needed to get a look at our finances and a really good cash flow projection, which we haven't really had before. So really getting close with the actual cash that we have was really, really important. And now that I've learned how important that is, it'll be something that we continue in the future as well.
So 2 questions for you, Sarah, from me. What put you off getting stuck into the numbers? And what was it about numbers that you hated? And so the second part is, once you did get stuck in, how did you feel about it? Did how you feel changed at all? What was that? Was there any difference?
Okay, so I think I had like a fear of numbers, and always felt like you never quite got it wasn't an exact science, and you never quite got the answer to the penny, or it just never felt like it was how it should be. And a little bit of that will be around I'm not a trained business leader as such. I'm going through some training, but I was an accidental leader, and creating a community interest company was so that we could continue to deliver a service in our passionate area, and all the stuff around finance, HR and all that just came with the job for a bit, and still does. So I think it was a bit of fear, and possibly a little bit over judgmental of myself, of the capabilities that I should have, even though I haven't had any training in that sort of side. So it was getting over that sort of personal hurdle, I think. And then with your two's help, getting into the numbers and really having some tools of how to use them, and looking at what's important and which things to measure in particular, and focusing on those things, and spending, I think you mentioned focus before on the show, like having the energy in the right places to make the right progress moving forward.
Yeah.
I think it's important to, that's brilliant, that transformation. And for those who are listening who may not know what a CIC is, a CIC is a hybrid model. So it is a business that's got a social focus as its primary objective, but it's actually still a business. So it has to have self-generated income. So if anyone's listening thinking, oh, this is just a charity where they get the donations, far from it. You have to go out there and earn your money. You have to go out there and generate the income. So it's a business. So the only key difference is the objectives that might be slightly different to a conventional commercial business.
You have additional regulation as well, don't you?
Yeah, so we're not for profit, so any profit that we make has to be reinvested into the community and reinvested in what we do. So from a finance perspective, it's often around trying to break even, or trying to make a profit so that you can then invest it. So I quite like being a not-for-profit. It's a social impact organisation, so I do like that element of it as well.
So both of you then, because Mahmood, you've worked with literally hundreds, probably thousands of people on numbers with all your years of experience, and Sarah, having experienced it, if there are entrepreneurs watching right now who are thinking, oh heck, we thought we would work through the worst of this, and here we are again in the so-called second wave, they're putting off looking at numbers, what advice would each of you give them, and why? Mahmood, what would you say first of all?
I think Sarah's very honest in what she was saying here. She's probably giving herself a disservice because she's very knowledgeable about the thing. I think once you break down the jargon phase, once you break down what you think numbers represent, for me, actually, they're probably your best friend in business, because they won't lie to you. They're actually there to actually help you, believe it or not. And I think what it does, we all get anxious about what we think is going to happen. We all think, there's so many unknown variables here. And for me, just numbers equals knowledge, equals information, equals power. And it is actually quite enlightening. And I think, so for me, if you don't get to grip with your numbers, then your numbers will get to grip with you and you will lose your business, if I was going to be really blunt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sarah, what advice, if somebody's really fearful of numbers and isn't sure they can do it and putting it off, how would you advise them to proceed, knowing what you know now?
I would advise them to get some help from people that might know a little bit more. to just take a deep breath and have a go. It's not as bad as what you might anticipate, and that the data that is generated is really helpful in deciding what you can focus on next, what you might be able to invest, how long you're in a sort of safe zone, I guess, for us around having cash in the bank and being trading and what we need to do to push ourselves forward. So the data that's generated is really helpful.
Yeah, helps you with the decision making, because you chose to invest as well, didn't you? So you're wearing your fab sweatshirt.
Yeah, it's new.
It's not just Mahmood has got a fab sweatshirt. Do you want to just tip?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to make sure I'm in shot carefully, yeah.
Yeah, I am not wearing any logos or anything.
Not yet, no.
Not yet. Matching sweatshirts. So we might actually have a competition for any suggestions for things that me and Mahmood can put on matching sweatshirts that are clean and use.
Yeah, typically this is below before the water change.
So you've rebranded and you did all sorts of amazing stuff. And a lot of people were going, oh, I'm not going to do any of that because of, all this challenging world that we're in. So why did you decide to? What did you do? And how has it worked out for you?
So we kind of knew it was coming, and it was something we wanted to do. So we've been looking at growing our impact. So we want to impact as many people as we can through PE, sport and physical activity and improve lives. So we wanted to think about how we could grow our geographical reach. Some of the programs and products that we have could actually be used nationally, but we haven't got the reach that far. And our company previously was called Sedgefield School Sports Partnership. And it just got to the point where that was being restrictive. So we were going to national conferences, having marketing stalls with the name Sedgefield, which is a really lovely small town in the northeast, and people didn't connect to it. They didn't think it was for them because it was called Sedgefield. And also we do a lot more than sport now. We've innovated a lot over the last 5 years, so it just wasn't representative, and it was restricting our growth. So we were about to get into it a little bit as COVID hit. So the decision was more, do we press on, do we go ahead, or do we wait? Knowing that our rebrand really had to hit in with academic years. So it was either this September just gone or next September. And we just felt that there's no time like the present. If we really want to grow our business and we want to grow our impact and our reach, we'd already identified the name was restrictive. So there was no other decision really than to go for it. So we did it all virtually. We did it all internally. So in terms of investment, financially, it wasn't a big investment. It was a time investment, because I've got a very good member of staff who's very good at doing design work. So I facilitated the process, and Richard on our team did all the creative. So it was great. 3 months.
I like the way you talk about a collective we. So it's like a collective risk approach, that all of you had the same attitude and outlook to taking that level of risk going forward.
Yeah, and people found it exciting and inspirational, I guess, in many ways, that as a business where in a time that was really difficult, where people were thinking about survival, we were thinking about, well, how can we grow and how can we find opportunity within this that will push us forward and put us in a better position to maintain our service in the future.
Yeah, and you've invested in marketing as well, haven't you? So you've got the brand, and now you're actually out there promoting it and trying different things. And I love the fact that you're testing some stuff, learning from it, and then trying other stuff as a result. So again, it's great. So tell us about all of that.
Yeah, so that's pretty new for us. We haven't done much on marketing at all, because our customers have always been local, and we've always had like a family feel to our organisation with the 35 to 40 schools that we work with and we see on a weekly basis. But if we wanted to grow wider, we knew that the relationship building would be different, because those schools aren't going to see us as often. So we had to rethink about how we're going to approach it and what we're going to do. So we're doing a marketing ad campaign on Facebook at the moment for our Fit for Life functional fitness program, which is really, really relevant right now to help children get them moving, get them to moderate to vigorous intensity exercise, which is where the maximum health benefits occur. So we're really pushing that at the minute, because we think it'll really help. And then we're learning from how that goes. So we've got through the Growth Club in particular, we've got a new customer journey linked to that program. We got some automation going on for a small business that feels quite like mad. So we've got like automated emails that go out, and then tasks that pop up to say you need to ring this client, things like that. And it's all new for us, but we can see the impact that it's having. We're only 5 weeks into implementing. So it was 3 months ago when we created the brand. We're only 5 weeks into implementing, and it's a very strange time out there, and the market is odd with it being schools are just overrun. So we're doing the best we can, but we're starting to see good signs from what we're doing.
Yeah, it's really honest, and that it is still challenging, but you're keeping progressing, staying ambitious, moving forward, and putting the customer and putting people in your organisation first. What would you say that because you joined the Business Growth Club when we first launched that? How long ago did we launch, Mahmood? Do you remember?
I think we launched. Listen, me and you started having the conversation right back in. My memory serves me right around about February, March. I think we launched. I should know this exactly. I should have it written down, be perfectly prepared. Round about probably about June, July time.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the exact date either. But we did. It was 10 weeks, wasn't it? Finishing towards the end of September. And Sarah, I'd be really interested to know what have you gained from being in the Business Growth Club over those 10 weeks and doing all the weekly activities, coming to the weekly Zooms and moving forward. What have you done, and how much further forward are you as a result of being in the Business Growth Club?
So I guess simply for me is I've gained a business growth plan, and everyone who kind of has worked with me in the past or knows how I work, they know that I don't particularly like writing things down, and I'm at the sort of, if there was a scale between emergent and planned, at the far end of emergent. So to get to a position where I actually have a written plan that I can share with my team is a big thing. So I've only been in business 8 years, so it took a while. And it's just knowing that plan for me is movable. It's a moving piece of work that's guiding us in the right direction, but is also open to change and flexibility as well. But it's been really helpful sharing that with the team, so they know. A lot of stuff stayed in my head a lot of the time, so to be able to share that information about where we're going, I think it's been really helpful for my team. For me, it was a different focus every week, and the key weeks for me were KPI week, so creating a KPI dashboard and really focusing on the areas that are going to make us the biggest impact in the future. Finance week that we've talked about, that was a big week for me, and marketing week. So all the things that I feel like every week sort of shone a light on a different part of the business, and it was really root and branch across the 10 weeks. Some things you would say, I'm doing all right with that, and maybe it's a little bit of an improvement would be helpful. And some things were like, oh dear, that light's shining on a few things that I definitely need to sort out, that would really help push us forward. So yeah, for me, it was KPIs, finance, and marketing was the three main things.
And have you felt, that's a really great answer, have you felt a personal transformation in yourself in terms of, if you can visualize what it was like at the very beginning of that Business Growth Club to where you are now?
Yeah, I feel like I'm constantly transforming at the minute with all of the different pressures that seem to happen every week. But yeah, I think the Growth Club coupled alongside with the Masters that I'm doing at Strategic Leadership at the moment, both of those things happening collectively have definitely transformed, and the Growth Club did have a massive impact on how I do my work and the things that I focus on, and putting better processes in place for our business. So I think it's laid a foundation for us to grow from. But also the content, the 10 weeks of workbooks that we got. So I've kept all of those, and I expect in the future that I'll be able to go through them myself, and different areas will be picked up at different times. So yes, it has really, really, really helped me. I would recommend it. I think you guys are going to do another one, aren't you? I think I'd recommend that to anyone to jump on that.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for that, Sarah.
Yeah, we are doing another one. It'll be in the new year, and we love working with you. You know, you're awesome, and you bring great energy and a real desire to take your business forward and learn all the way through, which is fantastic. So we've loved every second of it. And what over not just from the Growth Club, but in general over these recent months, as we sort of sat there and probably listened to Boris say that the second wave is here, there's going to be different tiers of lockdown and all of that, which affects you where you are, doesn't it, Sarah?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you going to learn from what's been before and build that into what you do next?
So I would also say from the work that I'm doing at uni that we're quite a learning organisation, that we do continue to learn through every experience that we have. And we're already in a position now where we're starting to predict what might come next, what might be our next challenge. So like you mentioned there, we're in a tier 2 lockdown. And at the moment, we've been in schools for the last 5-6 weeks, and there is the possibility that in the future we might be restricted, which brings another challenge for us to overcome, because schools will have children in, but we won't be able to get in to work with them. So then what do we do next? So I think what is highlighted for me is how innovative my team are, how innovative we are as a group. And I think my team have felt empowered by how well we've adapted and changed throughout this whole process, embracing digital technology, changing how we deliver things, that I think we feel that we've got some confidence and competence in ourselves for facing sort of any, if you can get through this disaster as such, if you get through what's happening right now, I think you can get through most things. And it's been innovation and creativity, I would say, that's got us through, as well as being people-centered and doing the best for our customers. And
I think it's got to be emphasised in all of that wonderful things that you've done being agile. You've actually not lost sight of your ethos and what your business represents. So the objectives haven't changed. The wanting to help your client group hasn't changed. It's just the way that you're doing it has, altered.
Yeah, absolutely. There's things that we could be doing now that would income generate for us, but wouldn't sit within our values. So for us, that doesn't happen. So everything has to sit within our values for us to proceed with it.
Yeah. So they're a really clear compass that you're using for your decision making on what you do and don't do, and not knee jerking into doing things that won't take you forward in the right direction. How would you say we were talking about self-coaching and resilience, and not bouncing and really sort of stepping back and seeing how things lie, and being strategic about how you get through stuff. How would you say you've managed yourself, and how have you built your own resilience as a business leader?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess personally, I see opportunity in most things, and I find challenges, I was going to say fun, but this one hasn't been fun. I find problem solving, I enjoy problem solving. So looking at a problem and trying loads of different solutions, talking to different people, getting different perspectives. So I think listening and learning has been really helpful. But I think, as you know, Jo, I'm really big on self-care and keeping yourself in the right frame of mind and keeping yourself well. For me, it's exercise that really helps me with that, and it's different for other people. So I think you have to be in the right mindset, and you have to be in a position where you can function well, to think clearly and make good decisions. So for me, resilience will come a lot from looking after myself and making sure that my brain's functioning as it can, I guess.
Wow.
I think from a business perspective, it's probably the biggest single investment you'll make is in yourself anyhow. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's finding what works for you, isn't it? And really building on that. And you brought some of that energy in Business Growth Club for, if you're watching, when you're watching the show and you talk about Business Growth Club, we had a weekly Zoom on a Tuesday evening, and Sarah would quite often, for both Growth Club members, so we could all get together live, and Sarah would quite often bring some sort of physical warm-up activities, nothing too strenuous, nothing too silly, but it was just a bit of fun to get us all moving and not sitting, and just getting around and triggering the brain at the end of the day. And it sort of brought everybody together. It's a really, really good thing. So we really valued that, and we'll remember that. I think it's going to be one of my memories for sure.
I think that I shall, yeah.
All sorts of things. Go on, give us a couple of your Zoom or Teams favourite icebreakers or warm-ups, Sarah. Tell us what they are.
Okay, so we're all on Zoom 24/7 at the minute, and we believe in physical activity. So it is making people more sedentary. So if I was leading a workshop with people in real life, face to face, we would do active activities within the workshop. So I was thinking, how can I bring that to Zoom? Because it almost feels more needed, because it zaps the energy out of you as well. So my favourite is active rock, paper, scissors. So you have movements for, so there's rock, paper. You can't see his scissors, my arms spread out. So you can do that in pairs. You can put people in breakout rooms. We're always innovating and changing. So we did one this week with my team where everybody was on the screen. There was 9 of us, and you just had to do the random shapes, so rock, paper, scissors, and you got points for whoever had the most. So there was no competition in it. It was just if the most shapes are rock, then rocks win that round. We did one on a conference. Did one on a conference last week, rock, paper, scissors, but you got points for passion. That was great. I love that. So that's a really simple one, rock, paper, scissors. And then the game that you usually play as a kid, like I went to the shop and I bought a thing and you go through the alphabet. So we would say I went to PE and I did air squat, balance, and you would go through the alphabet. So the couple of these were, another good one is trying to make a Mexican wave across your Zoom screen. But we did it where you have to pick one person's screen and they're not allowed to talk, and the rest of the group have to get the right order, because sometimes you're in different orders on the screen as well. So that was a thinking challenge and an active challenge at the same time.
Wow.
But I'm going to be putting a blog live about next week about how to make Zoom more active.
Yeah. Well, let us have the link and we'll make sure we post it, won't we, Mahmood, with all
Absolutely.
the and everything. And just to say that Sarah did those with grown-ups as well. So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
People
I've only done it
In physical age, yes, certainly.
Yeah, no, I haven't done it with kids. It's only with grown-ups.
Well, I think, you're just so inspiring, Sarah. I think what you and your team are doing and have done, I mean, what you were doing anyway, and then what you've continued to do and how you've really moved forward in really challenging times is definitely inspirational, wouldn't you say, Mahmood?
Yeah, I think that's a great illustration of somebody that you could actually say, when things are getting tough and challenging, the conventional thing, quote unquote, is to do nothing, or actually say, let's grab an opportunity here. You brought the whole team on board, and I think it's a great demonstration that actually with the right approach, the right tools, the right group of people, you can actually make the best out of a very bad situation. Yeah,
definitely. And if you're watching, if you would like to connect with Sarah, find out more about her, you'll see that we've got the link to Sarah's website coming through now, go-well.org. You'll also find Sarah on LinkedIn. She's really prolific and she posts really good content as well, so thoughtful and helpful content. So find her on LinkedIn, and we'll put those links to the blog, as we say, in there once you've published it, because it's awesome. Sarah, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
No problem. I've enjoyed it.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Sarah.
And Mahmood, you and I will be back, won't we? Same time, same place next week. And we've got another special guest, and we're talking about how to sort of get your ideas out there and make things happen when you can see an opportunity and you want to pivot. Or it might be not that you want to, but you're really thinking, I need to pivot. So we'll be there for you next week and helping you through that. So thank you very much from me. Sarah, do you want to say good night?
Yeah, good night, everyone. Have fun.
It's like the 3 Ronnies, isn't it? And over Mahmood.
Now, Jo, before we go, actually, we have a question here. So do we have a couple of minutes to answer a question?
Of course we do.
Okay, so it's within that. So, Sarah, I'm just going to put you back in the green room with your gin and tonic and beer. So thank you very much for your company tonight. Thank you very much for giving up your time. That's a great story. I love hearing that again. So brilliant. So we'll no doubt we'll talk to you again. I'm just going to bring this question on from Nidge. Let me just put you so I've got room on the screen. So were you going to do your bit there, Jo, or?
Yeah. So I can't quite see the.
I'm just going to we'll put. Let me just push this on. So it's about. This is the question
from Nidge. Yeah.
So it's about Rishi Sunak's announcement on viable jobs. And the question is, we can answer this probably, a very complex question in about a minute. What do we think the best businesses are going to get into? What would your answer be to that?
What's the best business to get into? I think a business where you can actually keep up with changing need. So anything that involves digital automation, helping people get quicker, more effective, more efficient, and also do things more safely. There's lots of research, of course, and I mean, to an extent, it's common sense that we are in a low or zero touch economy. So things that you can do right now to help people move around, connect, really safely to do their work, to socialise, to support each other, I think is a good thing to consider, as long as you can do it quickly and well. What about you, Mahmood? What would you say?
I think it's that whole idea, isn't it, about ideas in your head. So you've always, whatever business you're in, ultimately you're there to make a transformation in somebody's life. You're there to solve a problem. You're there to fix a need, and that's what you're going to be driven by. What it specifically is, you know, there are still lots of business opportunities in lots of different arenas. So when you do that idea mapping, when you do that idea creation, you've got to bring that to the fore. Yeah,
Nidge, have a look at how attractive you think the industry is. So look at the competition. Look at how much choice customers have, and how much space there is to do something different and have a unique value proposition. And think about, you know, time to market and how challenging those customers are to reach. If you've got customers that you can reach really quickly and easily through what you're doing, then that to me sounds like a good next move for you if you're thinking about changing direction or starting something up. Then do watch next week, because we're going to be exploring that very subject in a lot more detail when we talk about how to pivot.
Perfect. And I think we should also add, Jo, we're going to be back again obviously next week. Wonderful topic there. And if anyone is interested in finding out more about the Business Growth Club, anyone wants to hop into the mailing list here, doors open officially, I believe mid-January we're going.
That's right.
The official date here. So we'd love you to be part of this here. We have got limited numbers. We will drop a link in to there. So if you want to be added to our mailing list, love to hear from you, and hopefully we can see you in the Business Growth Club when it kicks off in January. But before that, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week. Bye.
Perfect. That's a good night to everybody. That was a brilliant guest from Sarah.